Okay, so they want us to factor by grouping. And what grouping means, whenever they say grouping, they mean group the first two and last two. First two and last two. Actually, sometimes you need to rearrange them, but not on this one. So first two and last two. So how do we group those first? And by group, we mean just focus on just these first two as if they're the whole problem and just do them first. So how do we factor just those first two alone? Well, what do they have in common? They don't have any numbers in common because, you know, this first one, y cubed, there's no numbers there. But they do both have y's. And so how much do they have in common? What do they share? What do they both have? They both have y squared, don't they? So take out y squared. Is that good so far? Right? Remember, you take the lower power because that's what they share. They both have y squared. Okay, so what goes on the inside? We put a minus on the inside. And then so we're just going to say y squared times what will go back to y cubed. Y squared times what? Well, regular y, because that means y to the first, right? The powers add. And then y squared times what will go back to minus 2y squared. Well, just the minus 2, huh? Is that making sense so far? Y squared times minus 2 is minus 2y squared, like that. And then this plus sign in the middle we bring down. And now we factor these two. And what do they have in common? Well, 6, right? 6 goes into itself and into 12. Okay, and then put a minus in the middle, and 6 times what will go back to 6y? Well, just y. Then 6 times what will go back to 12, 2. Like that. Okay. Now, we're not done here. Why? How do we know? Got a plus sign outside of parentheses. When we're done, all the pluses and all the minuses will be contained in parentheses. So we're not done here. We got a little more to do. What are we going to do from here? Well, this is the step that's a little more confusing. So these two, what do they both share in common? Imagine if you had y squared w plus 6w. Imagine if this big old y minus 2 thing was a w, and this other y minus 2 being the same thing was also a w. What would you do? What would you do in that case? You would say, oh, well, they both have a w, right? Isn't that what you would do? You'd say, well, they both have a w. Take the w out, and that would leave y squared. You know, remove the w, put it in the front, and what does that leave? Y squared and 6. That makes sense. You remove the common piece, put it in the front. What's left over? Y squared and 6. Do you see? Because that w could go boom and be right back, couldn't it? But instead of w, what do we really have in common? Parenthesis y minus 2. Let me make that a little bigger. Parenthesis y minus 2. And that's our answer. There, we're done. Now, I know that's confusing for a lot of people. You look at it and they go, whoa, that looks weird. Let me remember, think about this this y minus 2, like it's one big term. I know you think, well, no, it's two separate things, the y and 2. It is, you're right, that's true. But you could also think of it as one big chunk. Just think of it as one big chunk. Don't worry about the individual pieces in it. Look at it as one big blob. And the whole thing goes boom and boom. Next to y squared and next to 6, huh? And you see how that would make it go right back to this step? You see? And also, if you think, well, no, Mr., but it's individual, you could do it individual. And if you did that like that, you get back to these original 4 terms. So it really is right. And so there we go. We factored it and we're done.